large this morning after inheriting a $3 million trust fund and a waterside mansion from their late owner. But as NBC's Peter Alexander reports, not everyone is happy about it.
Conchita the Chihuahua is one of the world's most pampered pets, who was the prized possession of the late Miami heiress Gail Posner, who died 3 months ago at the age of 67. Conchita, seen here in pearls and a tutu, and 2 other dogs, inherited Posner's exclusive $8 million Miami Beach mansion and a $3 million trust fund. As for Posner's only son, Brett Carr, he was left with a relatively measly $1 million in his mother's will. Carr filed a lawsuit this month claiming his mother's household aides and bodyguards drugged and brainwashed his deeply disturbed mother, who he says suffered from mental disorders, paranoid delusions, and bipolarism, and ultimately stole Posner's assets by convincing her to change her will. The suit claims $10 million went to one bodyguard, $5 million to another, and $2 million more to her personal trainer. Sound bizarrely familiar?
I've done nothing wrong.
In 2007, New York real estate tycoon Leona Helmsley left $12 million to her pet Maltese, Trouble, before a judge later reduced it to just $2 million. As for Conchita, now at the center of one of the nation's nastiest estate battles, she's being cared for back at the Miami Beach mansion, while the case heads to court. Peter Alexander, NBC News, Miami.
All right, let's talk more about this. What is the legal fallout from these pampered pooches? Joining me now is Keith Sullivan. He's a criminal defense attorney. Also with us, defense attorney Jonna Spilbor. So, Keith, let's start with you. It's not really illegal to leave large sums of money to bodyguards, pets, housekeepers, anything like that. But what makes this suspicious?
What she did is perfectly legal. In fact, it's not suspicious at all. Most states have what is called a pet trust law. And
Okay.
Florida has it, New York has it. New York limits it, interestingly enough, to 21 years. Florida limits it endless. So she can certainly do what she did. The only valid challenge to the pet trust is whether or not the amount of money she put into the trust far exceeds or substantially exceeds the needs of the pet. So it's valid what she did, and we've seen it done and held up before.
Looking at the picture for her pink little Porsche there or something like that. Jonna, Gail Posner's son, Brett Carr, is basically alleging a massive conspiracy that's involving his mother's staff. So he's saying that the staff was involved in this. So how difficult is that to prove?
I think it's going to be very difficult. And let's just assume, because he did get $1 million under the will, so mom didn't just forget about him. I'm assuming there's some sort of strained relationship between him
right.
and his mother. And, you know, look, you can't pick your family. So he can't get mad now and say, hey, she might have liked the dogs and the maids better, but it should have come to me. He's going to have to prove that there was some fraud involved, and that's going to be a tough road to hoe.
All right, there we have it, Keith. Jonna saying that Brett got some money. You know, he's been taken care of. I mean, he wasn't completely cut out. How do they factor that, though, into the case?
That'll absolutely be factored in, because remember, she's under absolutely no obligation to provide anything to her son.
Right.
So the courts aren't going to go back and reshape and reform the fallen out relationship she must have had with her son. So that will be a factor, the fact that he is receiving $1 million.
And just to point out, maybe there was a little turmoil in this family. Jonna Carr, just to give a bit about his past, not completely clean, arrest record. He was given probation. Is that going to come up? Will that help be an issue?
That'll probably work against him, because perhaps that's the reason why mom cut him out of the will. And, you know, she wouldn't want to leave her dogs to somebody who's going to put them for sale on eBay or do whatever he was going to do if he was sort of nefarious.
Well, you have to think that those dogs are going to be well taken care of, and I'm sure that maybe the son would like to look over their trust fund for the dogs. So
let's lose the weight, though.
All right, guys, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Some folks in India used good judgment today when they encountered a group of lions.